Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian on this Friday morning. This is Market Rebellion, and this is The Take. I got to tell you something. Yesterday, markets seemed to have been just trading just fine. Obviously, we were moving, everything was going around, and all of a sudden, President Biden decided to step in and change the party a little bit. And by changing the party, what I mean is capital gains tax and moving from that 20% to somewhere closer to 40%, maybe even a little bit higher than that. And in some cases, that could push your full taxes into that 50% range. Well, that certainly was not accepted by the market very well at all. As a matter of fact, just look right at that chart of the Dow when that news came out, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. We finished the day down about 300 points. We were down about 1% there. NASDAQ, same sort of storyline. It just immediately reacted, got pushed to the downside. It was down 1%. It had recaptured 14,000 for a moment, and then gone once again and down about 131 points. So some definite pressure, some definite reaction, probably in my opinion, at least overreaction, because this wasn't set in stone. It wasn't said that, hey, this is absolutely what it is, but it was something certainly the president was putting out there in front of all of us to see what the thoughts are from the White House. So the reaction was very, very strong. And I think the entire presidential side will be looking at that to see exactly what sort of changes potentially may be made, because certainly a lot of people definitely hitting the exit buttons very, very rapidly there. Materials and energy, that was really leading to the downside, anywhere from 1.5% to almost 1.75% to the downside. Technology was also down about 1%. We had financials down about 1%. So we were getting hit pretty broadly. As a matter of fact, every single sector finished in the red yesterday. So gives you a little bit of an idea that nothing was sacred. Nothing was being held up in this flood of selling pressure that we'd seen. Volatility index almost reached 20 yesterday, got up there at 1990, pulled back a little bit late in the day, finished around 1870. Volumes, yeah, you'd expect to be strong, and they were yesterday, 36.5 million contracts trading yesterday. We had about 40 or thereabouts, maybe a little short of 40 unusual option activity hitting on the systems yesterday. So another busy day, derivatives markets nice and strong, and a lot of repositioning. The interesting part about this is, as we were getting sold off, as the markets looked really terrible, we really weren't seeing a lot of wholesale, hey, we're bearish and we are going after this thing. As a matter of fact, we were seeing exactly the opposite. We were seeing call buying in all kinds of different sectors as the market was pushing to the downside. Well, then flash forward to today, and it's sort of getting digested a little bit. The NASDAQ already started off a little bit stronger. There was definitely some pressure on the Dow. Dow was down maybe 70. The NASDAQ was up about 60. NASDAQ just continued to build as we've gotten into the trading session, from the pre-market to the open into the trading session. Matter of fact, last I looked, I think the NASDAQ was up about 110 points, and a nice reversal in the Dow, which was down early, started to come back a little bit, got into the green, and last I looked, it was very fast, approaching 100, so up 100. So seeing a definite move that was really, really rapid already this morning, specifically in the Dow. The NASDAQ, the path was clear. And as a matter of fact, you look at technology, that's been part of the leadership that we are seeing. Communications was also part of that leadership. But what really flipped and what has changed and why we've seen this acceleration of the upside was energy was negative, then it moved into positive. Then all of a sudden you look over at the financials, the industrials, the materials, all of that starting to flip. And when that flipped, we started to see an accelerated move from the NASDAQ and a big move coming out of where we are in the red on the Dow, and then that big flip and then getting into the green. So a lot going on. Earnings season continues to go on. We are in the early stages of this recovery that's been accelerating. I think people are still leaning back on that. The jobless numbers from yesterday were far better. Matter of fact, they were the lows from the start of the pandemic. So combination of some very positive things out there. You look at the earnings numbers. You look at Kimberly-Clark, for instance. They had weaker than expected on their forecast. Numbers were okay. Mattel, on the other hand, absolutely blew it away. Then you take a look over at American Express, you look at Honeywell, some strong beats. So we are still rolling along through earnings season. We've got more. I'll tell you the one that really stood out for me. The story of the day for me is everybody loves to harp all the time about Nike. And every once in a while, you might even hear a little something about Under Armour. What you don't hear much about is Skechers. And Skechers, every once in a while, we've seen it on the unusual option activity. And anybody who's been a part of that service for a long time, they know what I'm talking about. Every once in a while, we get some hits not too far in front of the earnings. And boy, are they right when they do that. And as a matter of fact, you look this morning, that stock was up 17% early on. It's pulled back a little bit from that, but they were talking about direct-to-customer sales. They were talking about their e-commerce. They were talking about a lot of the different things that they are doing in a positive way, and that's why you're seeing that huge reaction today. So talked about a lot of these sector rotations and all the rest of it. How about a little unusual option activity? So the first one I'm going to give you, healthcare, Boston Scientific, BSX. Now, this one's pretty interesting because when we've seen it in the past, they have been, it seems like, more correct here than in many. So we'll see if that continues, but they're buying an in the money, just about at the money, but it is in the money call. BSX was trading about 42.88. They're buying the next week, April 30th, expiring 42.5 calls. And the premium they're paying there is 85 to $1.20, which is not the full premium because actually these are already in the money, 42.5s. As I said, stock was trading 42.88. So there doesn't have to be a very huge move for these to start to really react to the upside. Be keeping an eye on this one. So like I say, about 4,500 of those. Next, I've got Silver, Majestic, First Majestic, interesting stock, AG. And we haven't talked about silver in a long time. We had that pause from gold and silver and all the rest. And then we've had that big run that we all talk about crude and got up towards 63. We've had that pullback recently towards 61. But I got to tell you something. It is really, really interesting to see this one hitting because some strong buying, stock trading right around 16.5. They got a buyer of 4,900 of the June 17 calls. So buying a little bit of time. These aren't April. These aren't May. Going out to June, the June 17 calls, those were going for about $1.25 up to about $1.40. So decent size. And it's an area where we've been kind of waiting to see some of that option activity come back. We saw a little bit just the other day in gold, hadn't seen quite as much in silver, but this certainly does stand out. We did have some silver not too terribly long ago, but not a lot. We haven't seen the kind of silver we had seen. So Bitcoin just continues to be the story of the day, absolutely, and the story of the week, because we talked about it starting coming off the weekend. But this movement and this volatility, if you want volatility in the marketplace, we had a little bit yesterday in the markets. We're starting to ease off of that. But I'll tell you what, you want volatility, you're going to go to Bitcoin. You're going to take a look at COIN, that stock, since the IPO, the day of the IPO, it was up, spent a little bit of time, maybe an hour or thereabouts, up above 400. Didn't last long, got towards 300. And this morning it was trading in the upper 280s for a little while. And I think it's recovered a little bit better than that. But it has been a crazy run for everything in the crypto space, and certainly Bitcoin leading the charts there. Folks, have a great day of trading. Knowledge is king. This is the place to get the knowledge of the derivatives markets if you want. The Market Rebellion. The guys, we got some of the greatest educators that you'll ever come across. Unbelievable people, do a great job and have incredible patience as well. So if you're ever looking, this is the place to look. If you want to know a little bit more about what's going on in the derivatives markets and the pricing and everything else, this is the place to be. Have a great day of trading. Have a great weekend.